After that very engaging fireside chat, it is now time for our third panel of the day on the topic, the future of work and HR's role. This session will explore how the role of the HR function is evolving in response to new data models, hybrid work arrangements, and the rise of the gig economy, and how can HR professionals ensure employee well-being. May I please invite the panelists on stage? I request you to please join me as I call out your names. We have Ms. Preemita Singh, President and CHRO, Havells India, Mr. Priyank Parakh, Director, HR, Haleon India Subcontinent, and Mr. Suhel Bhatia, Chief People's Officer, India Aptia Group. I would also like to welcome Mr. Gopalji Mehrotra, Group CHRO of the ACME Group.
The role of HR in determining, designing, co-creating the future of work. The first question I would like to address to Preemita, with your permission. How are you co-creating agile talent models aligned with business strategy?
Good evening to everyone, and it's really a pleasure to be here. Gopalji, thank you for asking that question, and a warm hello to my co-panelists. So we are talking about how we are building agile talent models. So right now serving as the CHRO for Havells India. It's a large conglomerate with a very large workforce. We are into manufacturing, sales, R&D, and of course corporate functions form the backbone of any organization. The reason I'm sharing this is because the talent landscape at Havells is very diverse. Right from having workers in the factory, where the seasonality of business makes a lot of sense, to having staff in our R&D center who are absolutely equipped with modern technologies to design and deliver products and services for our consumers, which are completely cutting edge. We have actually embedded artificial intelligence across various functions. Once again, the context is important because the talent landscape is going to feed into the business context. My role is really to deliver to the business, right? The purpose has to be fulfilled for the organization. So whether we talk about logistics or supply chain, whether we talk about design of our products, whether we speak about our manufacturing plants, we have artificial intelligence embedded in several processes and in several capacities. And therefore, from an HR standpoint as well, the adoption of artificial intelligence is important, is crucial. It is needed for several kinds of risk mitigation. Talking about agile talent models, it is my job with my team to ensure that we are creating a workforce which can deliver to the diverse needs of businesses. So whether it is seasonality of a season, Lloyd's is our product, and you know how the summer has been this year. So logistics get impacted, manufacturing get impacted, the warehousing gets impacted, and therefore, when one has to make sure that the talent leads or the manning is fulfilled to deliver to this business, you are required to work on agile talent models, which means scenario-based manning, which means scenario-based competency development, which means scenario-based learning and development initiatives. Sometimes you have to take a short-term view, sometimes you have to take a long-term view. So those are the things that we do, even in terms of, for example, career progression. Another panelist before us was talking about how no longer there is linearity. In fact, Dr. Balasubramanian, who opened the session, was speaking about how we all are attuned to linearity in our career journeys. Very big step of agile talent modeling is that you help the organization tide over this linearity and facilitate career democratization. Lattices are followed, and employees are empowered to make the career moves through whether it is internal marketplace or whether it is again using artificial intelligence to co-creating career paths. So there are several ways in which we are delivering to the business. I'm going to keep it short. There is lots to discuss. So with that, back to you, Gopalji.
Very interesting, Preemita, that you mentioned about the career models and how artificial intelligence is supporting the democratization of careers. So something very interesting that we've done at Aptia and that immediately rang a bell, and I thought I'll share it with all of you here. And it's important that you listen to us very carefully because Gopalji has promised that there'll be a quiz after this session. So all of you will be asked questions, right? So please listen to this very, very carefully. So what we've done at Aptia, the company that I come from, is that we've got something which we call as, which is a bit oxymoronic, but AI has helped us mass personalization of career. Right? So what you do is that you've got a lattice-based career framework because now there are agile work models. There are different kind of roles that you can go in for. So through the AI, you are able to visualize your career. So you have got a career visualizer app. And once you've visualized your career, it also gives you the skills and the requirements of that role. And once you know what skills are required, it then talks into your learning management system and gives you a customized learning plan. Once you complete the customized learning plan, it goes and updates your resume, your profile, and then you become eligible for all the roles that come up for your aspired role from the internal talent marketplace, right? So that is what AI can help you do, is it can help you in your organizations do mass personalization of career management for your employees, right? So thanks for sharing that, Preemita. Back to you, sir.
Thanks, Suhel. You have any comments on that, Priyank? You good? So, moving tracks slightly. So, roughly 2 years ago, at a gathering in London, I heard this very simple opening statement. It said, very soon, work is something you will do, not go to. Work is something you will do and not go to. So in that pithy sentence, all our notions about location, time, synchronous work, collaboration, all that. So that's really the debate which started after that one simple sentence. So in that spirit, Suhel, talking of hybrid work and flexible work models, in this scenario, how would we ensure performance, productivity, collaboration, cooperation? Your thoughts on that?
No, again, that's a very interesting question. I hope all of us in the audience are kind of on the same page of what the question is, and if you are also grappling with a similar challenge. So there has been a lot of talk about hybrid work environment, hybrid work arrangements, right? Now, what is the meaning of hybrid? The meaning of hybrid is that I'm going to be coming into the office for some time, and for some days I'm going to be working from my own home or from anywhere. Not just work from home, but I will work anywhere, right? So in that kind of an environment, it's very easy to be networked. AI or the current systems can actually create a network, can help you network, but it does not help you to be deeply connected. And that is where the challenge is. That is where the challenge is, that how do you ensure performance, productivity, because those are all outcomes of the kind of culture that you build. If the culture of ownership is built, then obviously the performance and productivity will obviously are the outcomes, right? They are the natural outcomes of somebody being very, very connected and a culture of connectedness at a deeper level being made. So how do you do that? That is important now. Now, this is something which I think was cracked by some of the large organizations earlier as well. They knew how to crack it because they were so large. They knew that for only networking will not help. Our culture needs to be deeply embedded, right? So now, but it's not only about large organizations, it's for all organizations of all sizes. Hybrid has brought that challenge in the forefront that we all need to be now thinking about how do we make our employees deeply connected with each other. Now, there are a couple of things in that. One is that capture the culture. That's very important. That what is the culture? Because it's something very abstract. It's how do you really, so capturing the culture is very important. And now this is where the expertise of HR comes into the picture. And one of the things I really encourage all HR professionals to do is build their expertise, right? So studying culture, how do you want to study culture? Do you want to use the Edgar Sheen method of ethnographic study of culture? Or do you want to do Hofstadt's nationalistic approach to culture? Or do you want to do Barrett's value framework and leadership values and through that building culture? Whichever way it is, it's very important for you to first capture the culture. Once you capture the culture, it's important to codify it. And once you codify it, it's important to call it out at the right opportunities. So those are the three things I want you to take back. Capture, codify, and then call out. And then embed it into everything that you do. Every processes that you do, it needs to be embedded. Not just HR processes, but every process in the organization needs to be do that. I'll give you an example. We say that I want to build a culture of trust and I want to build a culture of ownership. Right? Now, in case your expense management system or the process is heavily hierarchical, you need to give 10 different kinds of evidences and supports. You need to have 10 or 5, 4 or 3 or 4 different levels of approvals. And then is when the expense is going to get approved. Right? And then on what's the contrary thing that I'm trying to say? That I want to build a culture of trust and ownership. You are all owners of the company. You're all entrepreneurs. So please work with that spirit of ownership. But my systems and processes don't reflect that. Right? So just to sum up and give it back to Gopalji, capture, codify, call out. Yeah? Back to you, sir.
So I'm passing the 3 C's that Suhel outlined to Priyank. And my question to you on behalf of the audience is, human-centric culture, obviously aimed at furthering employee well-being. How do you build leaders that will have the empathy and the inclusivity to solidify the 3 C's that Suhel talked about?
Thank you, Preemita and Suhel, for the segue into that. To those 3 C's, I'll add a P and a V, which is very, very critical. And the P is purpose. And I'll talk about it and try to share our journey around purpose and vision. Yeah. So if the purpose is very, very compelling, and if the purpose is able to reach to every individual, as you talked about in C, communicate, it starts connecting, the overall professional with the human. And that is very, very important, Whether it's hybrid, whether it's no hybrid, I deal with a very different problem that offices are full. Every week we have to really check that what do we do? Should we expand the office? Or should we ask people to work from home and do hybrid? Because the purpose is so compelling, and to fulfill that purpose, everybody wants to collaborate and contribute. And that is the glue which can really build the whole environment. Yeah. And that is something which will lead to anybody's health and well-being. Because in between there is something called happiness. I call it as joy. Yeah. If you are connected to the purpose and if you are enjoying, you are getting that joy of really contributing, probably your well-being will be sorted. That's the core of it. Yeah. So rest of the things in terms of coaching managers around understanding everybody's personal requirement is very much needed, and we continue to do that. We have all kind of tools where we encourage managers to be inclusive, managers to really look after people's, people and their teams empathetically. But the bottom line remains that how do you really bring that purpose at the center, which really pulls on people? Yeah. So we are in a business of many products I'm sure you would have used. So we make Sensodyne, Eno, Iodex, Crocin, Centrum, etc. Under this company called Haleon, erstwhile GSK Consumer. Now, these are the brands, these are the products which touches everybody's everyday life. So our purpose is everyday health with humanity. If we are able to do that with the kind of products which we make, to really reach out to all the patients, all the consumers who really deserve our products, that's our core purpose. Yeah, and when we brought that compelling purpose after nutrition divestment, which was Horlicks and Boost to Unilever, we really focused on the consumers. We really focused on connecting with consumers and their health. And during that journey, we also figured out that simultaneously employees who are really doing that, their health and well-being is extremely important. And that's where we connected back to employee health and well-being. And the whole ecosystem kind of started getting built around that. So that became the core, In our company, if you're delivering, not delivering, if you're performing, not performing, doesn't matter. Are you having joy of doing what you're doing? That's very, very critical. And that, keeps us going around this. Thanks. Hope I could answer your question.
So we are halfway past the mark. All good so far? Would you like to ask us questions, or would you like me to ask you a question? Okay, let me first give a trick question to Suhel. So, when we were having tea outside, Suhel was quite politely talking about when was I in college and when was he in college. So, the question that I have for him is that, okay, see, by my father, and to a large extent even me, so we have been in a lifer model. What's a lifer model? You study till you are 20, you work till you are 60 for the next 40 years, you roam around and then you hobble around for another 20, and then you finally make the ultimate career move up. So that's the lifer model. Now, if you throw into the mix, we talked about hybrids, remote, freelance workforce, gig, and add to that your favorite subject, AI, so AI assistants. Now, if you have all this in the mix as an available workforce to you, how do you go about organizing work? I will not say organizing the workplace, that's already passé.
So, couple of quick lessons. One is that you all would have understood that I was not very polite outside when I spoke about the time when Gopalji was in college and I was in college, and how those were two very different areas. So definitely it was not very polite. And what I probably did was that there is a very interesting book called 48 Laws of Power. Has anybody read that book? 48 Laws of Power? Yes, no, maybe? So what's the first rule? No, you don't remember? You've read it, but the first one you don't know. The first rule is never outshine the master. So if you try to outshine the master, they're going to put you into a trouble, and they'll ask you a question which is totally out of syllabus, right? So that's what Gopalji has pulled off on me now, right? But nevertheless, and you see how there were so many different layers in the question. So he's like, beta, ab tu nikal. Try and answer that, because I put almost everything possible that you can.
This is the new form of non-physical college ragging. I had the physical form in my days.
Got it. Lovely. So great. So at least I've set the disclaimer, and even if I'm not able to do a good job, I'm sure I'll have your sympathies, right? But anyways, coming back to some of the multiple things that were spoken here, right? See, one of the things that I understand is, spoke about belongingness, right? And we talked about certain eras as well, right? Now, belongingness, how do you build something, and how do you see something that can be created, which, to be honest, you cannot measure it very well. It's very difficult to measure it, right? So if I go back and say what comes closest to measuring nature is physics, right? But physics also cannot measure some of these feelings like belongingness, love, etc., right? So how do you build something which you cannot measure? It's very similar to being in love. How do you know that someone is in love? No, you don't have to get into deep thinking. But think about it. How do you know when someone is in love? They show up. They make efforts. They do certain things which tell you they care for you. So therefore, there are indicators and markers where you get to know that someone is in love or not. Similarly, when it comes to belongingness, there are certain markers. So you do surveys, you know. Now there you know whether in various org initiatives your employees are participating or not. Is there an enthusiasm to participate in various org initiatives? So you know that there is certain level of belongingness. You know that do they show up or not? Or they prefer, there is always a conversation in the organization, why are we hybrid? Why are we not full-time work from home? Do you not trust us? If those kind of conversations are happening, that means there is still no sense of belongingness and there is still no connectedness to the purpose that Priyank spoke about. Because the connectedness to the purpose is not there, therefore all these things are coming in, and therefore there will always be a question which you get asked very time by your partners also. Do you love me or not? Right? Now a linked thing, again going back to your partners and your spouses. What is that one thing that they always complain about is, you don't listen to me. You don't talk to me. Right? That is another thing that is very, very important for you to increase belongingness, especially in the context in which Gopalji created this question, right? There is gig workers, there are, hybrid work environment, there are millennials, there are generational workforces. One thing which is eternal across eras is listening. It's very, very important to listen. So what are the various listening mechanisms that you put into your organization? As many as listening posts that you're able to put, more and more you're able to increase belongingness, because that's also the reason why your partners complain to you, you don't listen to me. And that's what your employees are also complaining about, you don't listen to me. Or if you listen to me, then you don't change. Although, contradictory to that is, there is another statement that you have changed a lot. Ab tum badal gaye ho. That's the same thing the employee also says. When I had joined the organization, and what was promised to me during the recruitment process, and what I am experiencing, ab tum badal gaye ho. So listening is also something which is extremely important. So just to sum up what all I have in my mind is, one, that belongingness is extremely important. Across eras, while AI will come, other things will come, but one thing which will, there are eternal principles of the universe and the cosmos which will never change, is how do you ensure that people show up? How do you ensure that they participate? How do you ensure that you listen to them? And after listening to them, you go back and close loop with them. You may not necessarily have to complete everything that was discussed and shared, but at least you go back and say, I've been able to do this, but I will not be able to do this.
So full marks, my friend. Only thing I'll throw into that hopefully whenever we implement this, however we implement this, those listening ears hopefully are human ears and not AI chatbots. Now, I guess, with the time that we have remaining, let's get really futuristic about the future of work, our topic. So I'm going to ask Priyank, what's your big, bold prediction for, let's say, 2030?
One, or if I do chat GPT, it'll give me 10.
Big and bold, as many as you have.
From a HR perspective, I assume, right? Because that was the question in the Farra. So, one of the big ones, honestly, some of us have started living is not only culture driver, but also growth driver. So, 25 years ago when I started my career, it was very transactional. We are reaching to a point where HR is really, really strategically partnering the business. My big bold prediction is HR will be expected to grow and transform the organization very, very legibly, very, very, by title is something which I see it's happening. And I'll try to substantiate, because what's happening in this kind of VUCA and now Bani world, when things are very, very non-linear, as some of my colleagues we were talking before this session, you will need those people who are in the business, but also could think big and future forward. And that's what HR can bring to the table, if you're able to connect the dots. So that could be one big prediction. How do you really connect? How do you also forecast, foresee things and bring it on the table before it's too late, and then you start getting into a catch-up game. So that could be one of it.
Thanks very much. Preemita, may I request you, big, bold, you know, how redesigning the future of work, any big, bold predictions for that?
Sure. Thank you, Gopalji. If I may just take 10 seconds on the last piece which you asked, Suhel.
15.
Thank you. So, I think when we ask the question that there will be different kinds of talent segments and therefore how we increase their belongingness or how we address their needs, what I wanted to add was that if we don't have diversification, then we have a problem. Diversity is going to be a risk mitigation strategy for businesses. Diversity will ensure sustainability and continuity of businesses. We cannot risk ourselves on one kind of thinking because consumers are not like that. We cannot risk ourselves in one kind of being because once again, the ecosystem in which we operate is not going to be like that. And yes, we will have to have multiple levers to engage and create belongingness for multiple layers, multiple generations, multiple employment kinds in the workplace, and the CHROs will play a very central role in doing so. With that, coming to the bold move. Today, HR heads and HR leaders are hired with the same rigor as CFOs were hired and are continued to be hired in organizations. The rigor, the lens, the expectations are the same. You are required to deliver to the bottom line and the top line of the business through people strategies. You're required to address human capital in a manner that it becomes a moat for the organization. With the advent of AI, I am super excited because the field of HR is going to be most fascinating and most exciting. Because one thing which technology is going to change and disrupt is human behavior. All the Maslow's needs of hierarchy, Heisenberg's principle, two-factor theory, everything is going to disrupt. The stereotypes are going to disrupt. And in that, learned, curious, those who are wanting to create impact in organizations, those HR leaders are going to be at the forefront of that change. That is my prediction for 2030, and I am really lucky that we will get to live that era in our lifetime. To you, Gopalji.
Lovely thoughts. Thank you. A couple of questions, please.
We were just talking about the hybrid work models, and like currently the situation is that most of the companies are getting back to work from office all days. While we have reaped benefits of hybrid working models, what brings this change, back to the age-old work from home? Work from office again.
Yeah. Can I just ask a counter question to you? Yeah. How many of in the audience, and it's not just for you, for everyone here, how many of us have kids at home who are going to school? How many of you would prefer your kids to be studying from home, virtually, or actually going to the school?
I'm talking about the hybrid model. I'm not saying work from home all days. I'm saying the hybrid.
Hybrid. How many of you would prefer your children to be going to school only 2 days and 3 days at home?
Alternate days is the norm, right?
That's the broad answer. That's exactly the reason why. Why? Because there are many things that they learn beyond the subjects, right? There are many things that happen. The collaboration, the connectedness, the culture, and the innovation. See, innovation doesn't happen. When you are, as a team, you coming in together, you're working together, then you also fail together. You also succeed together. Innovation can only happen through exploration, wandering around, and then failing together. So I think, according to me, one of the biggest reasons is because there are so many things that happen outside the work, which is why many of the companies, and large, big, small, have all said that, we need to come back. and work together, and they're creating collaboration spaces, anchoring days, that okay, this is the day that I'm going to come in and do an anchoring day where all of us are going to be together. So the answer, at least in my mind, resides in that. Yeah, but Preemita.
We can ask another question.
Thanks very much. It does say in red, time's up, but it's your time. So if you would like one more question, go for it.
Yeah, I'm Pravesh Kumar at this side. Having 41 years experience in the export industry. Now my question is that nowadays there is a lot of thing about the hybrid AI. But if we hire about the on the hybrid mode someone like like 2 or 3 days in the week and rest 3 days in the office. So how can we judge their parameters? How can we judge about their potential, what they are doing from work from home? Can you can you advise something about this one?
So this is similar to the previous one which you had
Yeah.
started to answer. So Priyank, can I request you to take that?
Okay, so I'll be quick because I'll put a multinational perspective here because in any of our meetings, there are people from at least 6 countries, 6+ countries, different time zones, right? So do we think that work is not happening? Work could happen if the person is present. So my very simple request, which I was sharing with the panel is, expect employees to be present on video and audio unmuted. Simple. So that you don't have to repeat the question, you don't have to mistrust the person, has he or she really understood the question, because most of the times these are simple things which are happening. Unmuted, on video, be present the way you are present in office, dressed up, decked up, so that you show up that I'm present, right? Because the bigger thing is, without any inhibitions, then you're able to contribute, right? The only issue which is also happening nowadays is because if there are some people in the room together, the voice and the conversation is so loud and noise that we forget that somebody is outside the room on the camera, and that's where you need to interject a bit. So that's how a trusted environment can really solve for these kind of things, because human life and the business environment which is there, we will face these challenges. He talked about kids. In this week itself, I've got requests that kawad chal rahe hain, roads are choked, we are unable to reach. Secondly, Meerut mein bomb hoax ho gaya hai, so we have to reach to get. All of these things will keep happening. But we have to operate with a lot of trust that irrespective of where the person is, if we have mutual trust that he or she will be able to deliver and we trust each other, I think things will be sorted. Yeah?
Priyank, just 10 seconds, Priyank, here. So Priyank spoke about being present, right? Being present is very important, and one of the markers for that is that your audio visual is on, or at least your visual is on, your camera is on when you're online. But a very light-hearted thing happened with me recently. So there was a gentleman, we were on a call, and I asked him a question that, can you answer? And the person is not responding. Is on the camera is on and not responding. Couple of times I asked him, finally the person realized that, okay, the question is to me. The person unmutes and says, sorry, I couldn't hear you, I was on mute. Yeah.
So with that, on behalf of the panel, I thank our audience for being very mindfully present and unmuting yourselves when you were asked to. So thank you for that. But before I let you go, I think the lady should have the last word. Yes, I still belong to that generation who says things like that. So Preemita, what is that one imperative, actionable, which you want to leave with the folks here, which they must take in the next 12 months towards the future work?
In the next 12 months?
Yes.
Well, we actually discussed this also at various forums, and just by way of our profession. Caring for people will always remain and should always remain. But my parting thought for everyone, which may not just be for 12 months, but maybe for time frames longer than that, is in this time when we are talking a lot about AI and how AI can displace jobs, create new jobs, challenge human beings, augment human beings, the one thing that we must remember is that business and relational experiences happen on trust. You would agree? All business happens on trust. And for trust, there is a very simple equation which says credibility into reliability into intimacy divided by self-orientation is your trust equation. So AI is going to help you with your credibility. Your own motivation is going to help you with your reliability. Human to human interaction will only help in intimacy. And self-orientation is something which is a value that we all must always carry. You can neither be saying that I have no self-interest, because the denominator becomes zero, nobody trusts you. Yeah, it's invalid. And it cannot be only one-sided that you think I'm only going to think about myself and nobody else. So I would just like to leave with that last thought, Gopalji. Thank you for giving this opportunity. Thank you, everyone.